Hey everyone, it's Steve. Welcome back to the channel, where Reddit gets real and the drama hits deep. If you're into jaw-dropping stories and the internet's wildest confessions, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoy the ride.
My cousin stole my baby name, so I expose her fair at her baby shower. I, 31F, am an only child. My parents are quiet, old school, and have always prided themselves on keeping family matters in the family, which usually meant that when someone screwed you over, you smiled through it and let them. I didn't fully realize how messed up that mindset was until recently. My cousin, Rachel, fake name, is 29F, and we were raised like sisters. She's my mom's niece, and since we lived just 5 minutes apart, we were together constantly growing up, shared holidays, birthday parties, vacations, even high school. She's always been the center of attention, the golden girl. Blonde, petite, good at charming adults. If I was the nice one, she was the one everyone loved. We were close. At least I thought so. But even as kids, there was always this weird, subtle competition I couldn't quite put my finger on. She always had to one-up me. I got a dog, she got a puppy, and made sure to point out how it was more well-behaved. I started piano, she started violin, and won a competition. You get the idea. I let it slide because that's what I was taught to do. Family first. My mom would say, "Don't stir the pot." Now, flash forward to about a year ago. My husband Daniel, 32M, and I had been trying for a baby for over 4 years. I won't go into all the painful details, but it involved fertility treatments, a miscarriage, and a lot of nights spent crying in the bathroom. So when we finally got pregnant and made it past the first trimester, it felt like we'd climbed a mountain. We didn't tell many people at first, just close family. When we found out it was a girl, I was ecstatic, and we already had a name, Leora. It's not super common, but it's beautiful, gentle, and means light in Hebrew. I first heard it in a book when I was a teenager, and it's stuck with me ever since. What made it more meaningful was that my grandmother, who passed away when I was in college, used to call me her little light. She had this soft, broken English from being an immigrant, and she'd whisper my little light every time she hugged me. So, yeah, that name meant something. We told our families at around 18 weeks. I remember texting Rachel and writing, "It's a girl. Her name's going to be Leora Yellowheart," with a bunch of emojis. She responded super enthusiastically, "OMG, I love it. So unique." Or so I thought. About 3 months after that, Rachel announced she was pregnant too. Surprise, surprise. No judgment. I was genuinely happy for her. She and her husband Ethan, not his real name either, hadn't even been trying that long, and she was glowing in that nauseating, Pinterest-perfect way. We both laughed that we were going to have twin cousins and talked about playdates and matching onesies. But I noticed she started being weird, asking a lot of questions about our nursery. Our baby gear. What crib did you get? Are you using a doula? What diapers do you like? I chalked it up to excitement and new mom nerves. Then, at her 20-week ultrasound, she found out she was having a girl too. That night, we had a small family dinner at my aunt's place. Rachel did a little gender reveal by cutting into a cake with pink icing, and everyone clapped and took photos. Then she cleared her throat and announced, "We've picked a name already." I wasn't really paying attention at first. I was talking to Daniel, making a joke about how Rachel was always extra. But then I heard it. "We're going to name her Leora." The room spun a little. I blinked, thought I must have heard wrong. I looked at her. She was smiling right at me. Not sheepish, not apologetic, just smiling. I said, "Wait, Leora? That's our name." She blinked, all innocent. "I know. You mentioned it a few months ago, and it just stuck with me. Isn't it so pretty?" I was frozen. My mouth literally hung open. She laughed, and added, "Well, it's not like you own it. Baby names are for everyone, right?" The whole room went awkwardly silent. Someone chuckled nervously. My mom whispered something to my dad. Rachel's husband put a hand on her back, looking visibly uncomfortable. Daniel stood up and said, "Come on, Rachel. That's messed up. But Rachel just waved her hand like we were making a big deal out of nothing. You guys don't even have the baby yet, she said. What if you change your mind? My heart was pounding. I wanted to cry, but also scream. I looked around at everyone, hoping someone, anyone, would stand up and say this wasn't okay. But no one did, not even my mom. That night, I went home and cried for 3 hours. Daniel tried to comfort me, but I couldn't get over it. That name wasn't just a pretty word to me. It was ours. It was my grandmother. It was years of waiting and pain and finally seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And she just took it. The next few days were a blur. I texted Rachel, telling her how deeply hurt I was. She responded with the most passive-aggressive garbage I've ever read. I'm sorry you feel that way. I didn't mean to upset you, but I also feel really connected to the name now. Ethan loves it too. I hope we can both still use it. What are the chances cousins with the same name? Could be cute. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. I told my parents, expecting support, but my mom sighed and said, "Honey, it's just a name. Maybe try to pick something else. This isn't worth ruining family over." Daniel was furious. "She stole out of spite," he said. "She waited to see what name we'd use and then claimed it." I started to second-guess myself. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Maybe it was just a name. But then came the final straw. About a month later, Rachel sent out her baby shower invites. The theme? A little light is on the way. That's when I lost it. She'd taken the name. She'd taken the meaning. My grandmother's phrase. She didn't even know the origin. She just swiped it like it was a Pinterest caption. I didn't RSVP. Instead, I started planning something else. Because here's the thing Rachel didn't know. I'd recently stumbled onto something she really didn't want anyone to know. And I hadn't said anything. Not yet. But now she'd messed with something too close to my heart. And I was done being the quiet one. If you haven't read First Post, here's the short version. My cousin Rachel stole the baby named Leora, a name deeply tied to my grandmother and years of infertility struggles. She even themed her baby shower around it. A little light is on the way. That alone would have been enough to make me go no contact for a year. But Rachel didn't know I had something on her. Something big. And while I hadn't planned to use it, that changed the moment she stole something so personal and acted like I was the one overreacting. So I started planning. Let me walk you through what happened, how I discovered her secret in the first place, and what went down leading up to the baby shower. Back in February, around 2 months after I found out I was pregnant, I went to pick up a bracelet I'd left at a friend's place after a dinner party. That friend, Tessa, lives in a condo building in the city, and as I was waiting for her in the lobby, the elevator doors opened and out stepped Rachel. Not with her husband, Ethan, but with a man I definitely didn't recognize. He was tall, stylish, and clearly not a co-worker or cousin. They weren't holding hands or anything, but the body language? Intimate. That kind of electric closeness that you only get with someone you're emotionally entangled with. I made eye contact with Rachel as she walked by. She froze for just a second. Half a second, maybe, but I saw it. That flicker of panic behind her practiced smile. Then she waved. "Oh, hey." Small world. I said hi, keeping my tone casual. She introduced the guy as Caleb, an old friend visiting from out of town. Caleb gave me a polite nod, said he was just in for a few days, and then back to Vancouver. The whole thing lasted less than a minute, but it stuck in my head. I mentioned it to Daniel later. "Weird," he said. "Rachel has an out-of-town friend she's never mentioned, and they're hanging out in the city? Alone." I didn't want to assume the worst, but then I saw it again. 3 weeks after the lobby incident, I saw Caleb again, this time in a photo Rachel posted to her private Instagram story. Just a quick boomerang of a cocktail glass clinking against someone else's with a caption, "Best therapy, grapefruit plus gin plus good company." It was a man's hand. I screenshotted it and compared the watch to the one Caleb was wearing that day in the lobby. Same guy. She didn't tag him. But when I looked at the corner of the glass behind hers, I saw what looked like a hotel bar. At first, I wanted to let it go. I told myself Maybe Ethan was okay with it. Maybe it was innocent. But I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. Then, weeks later, I found the matchbook. It was in her car. I don't usually snoop, but she'd asked me to grab something out of her glove box when we were meeting at a family brunch. I opened it and saw a matchbook with a gold logo from a boutique hotel in the city, The Haven, a sleek and very discreet kind of place. Inside the matchbook, written in what looked like Rachel's handwriting, was a single word: ours. I didn't say anything right away. I didn't want to ruin lives if I was wrong. But then the baby name thing happened, and suddenly I wasn't looking at my cousin. I was looking at a woman who had no respect for boundaries, family, or anything sacred. That was when I decided I wasn't going to be the quiet one anymore. Now I had to be smart. This wasn't about being messy. I didn't want to destroy her life for fun. I just wanted her to feel the consequences of hurting people and thinking she could hide behind pastel filters and curated perfection. I gathered what I had: the matchbook with her handwriting, a screenshot of her Insta story with Caleb's hand, a candid photo I took of them a week before the shower, having lunch in a very non-platonic way. Her hand was literally on his knee under the cafe table. A receipt I got through mutual connections showing that she and Caleb had booked a spa couples package at the Haven about a month earlier. Apparently, they weren't as subtle as they thought. Then, I wrote a small note on a plain card. Every light casts a shadow. Thought you should open this before unwrapping the rest. No names, no accusations, just the evidence. I put it all in a white gift bag with neutral wrapping and dropped it off at the baby's shower just before it started. Then I went home. I didn't stay for the party. I couldn't, pregnant, tired, and emotionally maxed out. But I got all the updates within hours. Apparently, Rachel waited to open the gift toward the end. Everyone was drinking fake champagne, nibbling on pink macarons, and cooing over onesies when she reached into the bag. The second she saw the photo of her and Caleb, her entire face changed. She didn't cry, didn't yell. She just stood up, walked out of the room, and locked herself in the upstairs guest bathroom for almost 20 minutes. Everyone was confused. Some of the women thought she was going into labor early. A couple of the younger guests said they felt bad because she looked heartbroken. But then Ethan, her husband, found the envelope on the floor, and he read it, and he exploded. He started demanding answers, asking who Caleb was, and whether anyone had known about it. According to my cousin Sarah, the family gossip MVP, Rachel finally came down and tried to say it was just emotional and not like that. But Ethan stormed out. The party basically ended right there. By the next day, Rachel had texted me 5 times. "What the hell is wrong with you? You ruined my baby's shower. That was private. You're sick. You've always been jealous of me. You can't stand me having anything that you don't." I didn't respond to any of them. Daniel, ever support a husband, simply said, "You didn't ruin anything. You just opened the window. She's the one who lit the match." And honestly, he's right. Over the next week, the family split into 2 camps. Those who thought I went too far, and those who quietly messaged me things like, "I always knew something was off with her." My mom was predictably in the too far camp. She cried when I told her I'd left a gift and said I had stooped low. I asked her if standing up for myself was lower than stealing someone's baby name and lying to your husband. She didn't have a response. As for me, baby girl is almost here, and her name is still Leora. After the baby shower explosion, I expected the family to erupt into chaos. What I didn't expect was a silence, or at least the kind of quiet that feels louder than any argument. Rachel disappeared from social media for almost 2 weeks. Ethan kept his distance from family gatherings, and all the texts and calls that used to fly around slowed to a trickle. But I got a lot of messages from close friends and aunts who wanted to check in. Most said things like, "You were brave." Finally, someone had to tell the truth. I didn't know what was going on, but I always suspected. The hardest conversation, though, was with my mom. She called me late one night. I was exhausted and didn't want to get into a fight. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself. But you have to understand, Rachel is still family. I sighed. I understand. But so am I. I know, honey. It's just families are complicated. They sure are, I said. In the weeks that followed, I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I needed help untangling all the emotions swirling around this betrayal, the family tension, and the upcoming birth. Daniel was my rock. He held me when I cried about Rachel stealing Leora, about how my mom had dismissed my pain, and how lonely this all made me feel. But every day, I reminded myself, this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my peace. Fast forward a bit. At 39 weeks, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Her name, of course, is Leora. Holding her for the first time, I felt a calm I hadn't known since this whole mess started. It wasn't just a name anymore. It was a symbol of strength, love, and the light that shines even when people try to steal it. I haven't seen or spoken to Rachel since the baby shower. From what I hear, she's keeping most of it to herself, focusing on her own healing and the new baby she named Aubrey. I'm not interested in reopening wounds. Sometimes I think about how thin the line is between family and strangers. How betrayal can turn the people you grew up loving into strangers you barely recognize.